What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lexi J Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Lexi Johnson. This is my husband and co-host, Brett Johnson. Brett, how's your day going? How's your night going? It's kind of a late night recording for us.
It does seem like a very long day.
It has. You had asked if we took our vitamins this morning when you got home and we were getting ready for dinner, and it felt like breakfast was 4 days ago.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, days have just been very long. I think we're fitting a lot of things in, so each day it seems like a long time ago. Whenever you think about whenever you woke up and you got the day going.
Yeah, today kicked my ass.
Yeah, I could say the same.
It's just one of those days where I felt like I was spinning my wheels. I didn't even eat lunch, and
Really?
I don't skip meals. I did not like stand up for the longest time. My steps were tragic. Yeah, it was just, I feel like I ended the day further behind than I started the day also, that's the most discouraging thing. Like, I love I love working all day and then feeling like, damn, I crushed it. I just got so much done. But I left, and the notification number that I started with was higher than when
Yeah, that's a defeating feeling.
It's so frustrating. You don't see any fruits of your labor.
Yeah, even whenever you are really productive, yeah, it's a mindset thing. Whenever you don't see like any gain in, at least visually, in what you were trying to achieve.
Yeah, it was tough.
And you obviously did, otherwise the number would probably be much larger.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, so it was a tough day, but it's good problems to have, and I continue to remind myself just pressure is a privilege and this stress is a privilege. I wanted this so bad, so I'm never going to wish it away. It's just, some days you just get your ass kicked, and that was one of the days. But if every day was sunshine and rainbows, then you would have no appreciation for the sunshine of the rainbows.
Just get back up and keep swinging.
That's right. Well, today we're going to talk about people pleasing. Are you a people pleaser, you think?
Yes.
Are you as much of a people pleaser as you used to be?
No.
I would agree.
Yeah, it kind of sounds weird to say I've gotten better at that.
You're a recovering people pleaser.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah, I really am. It was almost like a fatal flaw, I think I would call it, at least for me, probably not for others.
Yeah.
It's great for others.
It is great for others. I feel like for self-development, sorry, I'm getting my legs straight here. It's counterproductive just because you prioritize other people's needs ahead of yours, and other people's happiness, other people's fulfillment and progression ahead of your own. And in some sense, it gives you satisfaction, but it also does not progress you. And if there's time left over, you can pour back into yourself, but the other people come first. And that mentality that's not going to further you. And it's also not going to benefit. It's not going to allow you to do the most good that you could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just trying to think back to my mentality before. And I think some of it was due to a lack of self-esteem. I think that it's easy to get wrapped up in trying to make others accept you or see you in the most positive light possible, because that's where you get your validation. If you don't have a high self-esteem, or really any self-esteem at all, then you kind of outsource that. You have to get that validation from others to feel important, or to feel valued, or to feel needed. And that's where I think I used to get my self-esteem, which is extremely unhealthy, is through others, telling me that I was valuable. And now at this point, it's still something that I struggle with a little bit, but not near to the level that I once did.
That was really introspective. But I think you're absolutely right. It's seeking that thumbs up or thumbs down from someone else, because you won't give it to yourself.
Yeah. And then whenever you are dependent upon that, your entire day, your whole life hinges on other people telling you whether or not you are worthy, or telling you whether or not you're good enough. And I guess if you're surrounded by people that are constantly telling you that you're good enough, then you'll be okay. But inevitably, you're going to come across somebody who makes you feel less than. And then if your self-esteem is totally dependent upon somebody else telling you what you're worth, then you're screwed. And that's where I was. That's why I think that I struggled so much with my self-esteem.
How do you feel like you get the most self-esteem? Like what was the turning point for your self-esteem?
So whenever I went to college, I kind of started to discover that I was different than what I thought I was.
In what ways?
I didn't have a positive self-image in high school.
And
so
you're like, I'm the shit. What?
Well, no, I think I went to college and I realized that I was different than what I thought I was. And what I mean by that is that whenever you get removed from like the only setting you've ever known, then you kind of get tested. You get thrust out into the real world, if you will. Kind of the diet real world, if we're being honest. College is still not the real world.
Very diluted.
But, you're no longer under like the safety net of your parents and your family. And now you're you, and you get to figure that, that whole thing out. And I started to figure out I was more capable than what I recognized initially. And people looked up to me, and they kind of like leaned on me for certain things. Like they thought I was, the voice of reason. And then whenever they start telling you those things, you're like, oh, I never considered myself this, but I guess I am this. And then you lean into that. You start figuring out and creating your own identity. And that was a very unique thing, a unique part of my experience and just maturing and evolving in college was figuring out that I was more capable than what I previously gave myself credit for.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. Speaking of college, Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking of college, as most of you guys know that listen to this, Brett and I met in college, his junior year and my freshman year, and today, so we're recording this the eve of when this is posted, but so today, October 18th, it's the 8-year anniversary of Brett and I starting dating. I realized that today when I was looking at the calendar.
It's wild, isn't it?
That's a big percentage of my life. It's a big percentage of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
We've been together for over a quarter of our lives.
Yeah, we were briefly talking about this earlier, and it's hard to remember life without you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it feels like it was just yesterday. It's this weird, like they kind of butt heads with each other. It doesn't seem like it's been 8 years, but at the same time, like I really don't remember what it was like before you.
I feel like I agree. I don't remember what life was like before you just because I have all of my recent memories involve you. And even like quote unquote my further in the past memories from college and stuff, like from 7 and 8 years ago, they involve you also. Mm-hmm. And I don't think about high school or anything like that ever really. So all of my memories, they involve you. And I think the thing that is wild for me to wrap my head around is maybe I just don't feel like I'm old enough to have been with someone for 8 years.
Yeah.
But I am.
Yeah. I think it also makes a difference that we are very much so different people, maturity level wise and just interest wise than we were previously. Our entire life is different. So therefore it's hard to really even identify with that prior life, so to speak.
So in that sense, it almost feels like we've been together longer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in my eyes.
Right. Yeah, because we've matured a lot together. There's been a lot of changes between the beginning and now.
Which I'm so grateful for. I was thinking about that the other day because I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but they were just talking about how oftentimes, like, when couples go through struggle or they go through like transitional phases of life and things of that nature, like, it's really unique for them to grow at at a parallel rate and in the same direction, where I feel like you and I have, obviously we've like had bumps and stuff along the way, but we have grown in a similar parallel and linear fashion, which I'm really grateful for, because we're so different than we met, where if Lexi then met Brett now or vice versa, we would have nothing in common.
Yeah. It's very true.
Brett now would not have given 2015 Lexi the time of day.
Which is weird to think about.
And vice versa. Well, honestly, you've always had your shit together. So I probably would.
Everything's relative.
But you're way cuter now.
I wanted to ask a question, though.
Okay.
Are you a people pleaser?
Yeah. Do you not think I am?
No, I do. It's always interesting to hear someone else's, like the perspective that they have of themselves,
Yes, I am. And it's really, I think the hardest part for me is saying no. I struggle with saying no when people ask favors. I struggle with saying no when
Same.
there are opportunities, but something that helps me a lot. And I think that it is, remember, we're evolving people pleasers, that understanding that every time you say yes to an opportunity that is not
serving you,
it's not the best use of your time, that your time and energy and manpower and brain power could be spent elsewhere. Every time you say yes to those things that are kind of not doing you any favors, I'm trying to say a nice way, but like, I don't know, below your pay grade, like a waste of your time. Every time you say yes to those things, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're missing out on, you're saying no to things that are serving, that could serve you better, that you could spend more time and energy and investment in.
Right.
And that is truly what allows me to say no, because I still, to this day, if someone asks me something that I have to turn down, I cringe, and I do not relish that.
Yeah.
There are some people that like saying no.
Yeah. It's hard to relate to, isn't it?
Yeah. I wish I was a little bit more like that.
Yeah, I know it. Grass is always greener, though. It's easy to say just because you envy, that lack of caring, it doesn't bother you.
But I don't know that it's a lack of caring. Maybe it's just more of a lack of, or it's more of an awareness that their time is spent in better areas.
That's very true.
And
it's a muscle that I'm trying to grow. So maybe if I get to that point, then people would think that I just don't care, but which wouldn't be true. It's just you have to do things that are in your best interest. But yeah, every time you say yes to something, you say no to something else. And that's the bigger picture that I have to keep in mind, because I'm bad at saying no. I'm really bad at saying no.
What do you I'm trying to think of like specific instances where people pleasing may be a good thing. Obviously, like a lot of good comes from it, from the people benefiting from it. But I also just think that when you grow up, you're taught, specifically for girls, you're taught to be nice. And unpopular opinion maybe, I think being nice is overrated. Be kind if you're going to be anything, because nice is a front to me. Mm-hmm. Nice is going through the motions. It's playing pretend. I think that there's a big difference between being nice and being kind. That's
really true. Yeah. Nice can be a mask.
And more often than not, I think it is.
Yeah. Nice is something that you can do fraudulently pretty easily. Mm-hmm. Whereas, yeah, kindness, I associate that with genuineness.
Yeah. Sincerity.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I always try to make a distinction when someone does something that's genuinely kind.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's so kind of them. But no, I think that people pleasing comes a lot of times just from when we're brought up. We're not told to stand our ground or have conviction behind beliefs or have any opposition to things that are asked of us.
I just thought about this whenever you're talking about kind. I saw one of the most wholesome things. It actually was one of the best parts of the late part of my day. One of the most wholesome things I've seen in a while.
Well, tell me.
I saw a mom and her daughter walking, and as I was driving by, they walked past a rose bush and they both stopped simultaneously and just kind of like did the, half squat down with their knees in a really cute way and they just smelled the flowers.
They literally stopped to smell the flowers.
They literally stopped to smell the flowers.
That's sweet.
It was very sweet. And it was like, they weren't like smiling. It was like, this is what we do.
Oh, that's cute.
It was very wholesome.
I love that you know.
I would imagine that those women are kind. I feel like that's a trait of somebody who's kind.
You would stop to smell the flowers.
Yeah, it seemed, I don't know, it was very wholesome.
Okay, so what would you tell someone that is a chronic people pleaser? What are some actions that they could take to stand their ground?
Well, from my perspective, people pleasing becomes, and I have a disdain for this word, so I hesitate to use it, but it is easy to use right here. It fits well. It becomes toxic for you.
That's what the word.
I hate that word. It is so overused. Hate it. But it becomes like this toxic thing for you where it starts working against you whenever you're, again, like I was describing about myself, where it was a problem for me. You get your validation, of your self-worth through other people's opinion of you. And people's opinion of you doesn't have to hinge on whether or not you're a pushover. Like, there's a line. And people also respect you if you're confident enough and you're self-assured enough to know whenever, your time is better spent elsewhere, or, you recognize your value to where you shouldn't be spending it doing this. There's a difference between serving people in a way that, is genuine and caring and sincere, and just being a pushover and never being able to just stand up for yourself and say, no, I'm sorry, but I'm not able to do that. And you don't necessarily have to give a reason why. I've always been that person that if I do have an answer that's no for somebody, then I feel inclined to give my explanation of why. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to give an explanation why. Like, there's no,
that's a big one.
There's no asterisk that goes along with, if you say no, you have to give an explanation of why. It's not a freaking essay, in a high school exam. It says, okay, if no, why?
No is a complete sentence.
Exactly. So I think that that's something additional that I didn't necessarily note before that's important.
I really struggle with that because if I say no, I have to provide an excuse and apologize profusely. And I wish I didn't. I wish that wasn't my knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah. No, it definitely is mine. And that's something that I've recognized. It took me a long time to recognize it. And I even do that over text.
Same.
I'll go to the extent of taking extra time to explain why my answer is no, or explain why, I'm declining to do something. And it's just not necessary. But just circling back to the original question, I guess the more you place your self-esteem in others' hands, the more you're going to get let down. And that was me with people pleasing initially. And, I lean towards people pleasing than people pissing off.
People pissing off. we talk a lot about the Enneagram, but it makes so much sense when you understand why a person is the way that they are. And I'm an Enneagram 3, which means I'm the achiever, which means I put a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean 99% of my self-worth off of achievements. And achievements are really achievements if they're recognized by other people. So that is something where I'm absolutely a people pleaser. And it's all about just identifying those things. When we talk about these things, know that it's purely out of evaluation. It's not us saying that we're holier than thou. That is a problem for me for sure. But it's just being able to identify it and knowing you need to work on it, because
Right.
no as a complete sentence is something that I should have stapled to my forehead, probably.
Yeah. Self-awareness is something that I think all people, no, I shouldn't say all people. Personally, self-awareness is something that I just continue to get better at. I become more and more self-aware of what my particular problem areas are and areas of opportunity, and just learning more about myself as I go,
Being more introspective.
Yeah. It's wild to think how much more self-aware I am now than I was even 5 years ago. I don't know what to attribute that to be honest with you. But things have changed.
I feel like it's just been in the encompassing of investment in yourself.
Yeah.
It has been for me. Like
The self-help books, I mean, they go a long way. I know that.
Compound interest of reading and consuming more content that
Yeah.
makes you think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the stuff that we consume all the time.
Who you're exposed to and who you're exposing yourself to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who you follow really does matter. Because if you're just consuming crap all day, then it's no surprise that like your view just stays limited. Your view stays so small. But if you're consuming content from people that have achieved incredible things and that believe that anyone can if they put their mind to it, it's crazy just how much that mindset can seep into you. It's inspiring. It's really cool.
Absolutely. People pleasing.
I'm
Man.
I'm pretty brain dead by this time of night after today. So I don't have much else, any more thoughts.
Yeah. No, I think that's a wrap. I think that's about it. But yeah, I know it's something that a lot of people struggle with, so I think that'll resonate with a lot of our audience.
Yeah, I think changing is also another thing that just brings out the people pleasing in you, because it's you changing means that you're starting to, you changing and evolving for the better means that you're starting to prioritize yourself. And if you are someone that has in the past just continually put other people first and yourself on the back burner, that is going to be kind of a identity crisis, and it's going to cause some friction probably. But just know that the investment in yourself is going to, double everyone else's benefit that they get from you, because they're getting a better version of you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to spin zone it that way, as you can still be the helper, you can still be the caretaker, but first you have to take care of yourself, because you're not doing anyone any favors by operating on low battery.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
Mic drop.
All right, guys, we need to go to bed. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. We will talk to you next week.